Hey there, you want to go Goodwill hunting? Let's go. Hey there, Mama B here. Welcome to my channel, Non-Polarity. So last time I talked about more in depth on the polarity in America, looking at Republican Democrat views specifically, trying to understand the perspectives there, trying to understand the perceived realities there. And then I went into trying to understand motivation and looking at will, goodwill, bad will, how to define and understand these things. So I had a nice comment under my last video. If you could please look at it, it's Mr. Brad Woodard. He made some great points, very, very kind. Thank you for the comments. Made some very good points, very good observations on his part. And that's the more feedback, the better. You know, I love that you guys give some input. Even again, if it's things you disagree, that's I welcome that as well, because we need these different viewpoints. We're not going to get anywhere without differing viewpoints. So Mr. Woodard said towards the end of his comment, great point here, both sides have very different models of reality, but we must start agreeing on some common landmarks, and soon. And this is very much the point of what I'm trying to reach here. What I suggest, for today at least, is that we start simple and let's do some goodwill hunting. You know, how do we do this? How do you determine, how do you find a goodwill out there? How do you look for those gems? You know, something that my spouse had shared with me, I think it was from a meme, but it's this concept I've heard of before, and I know I have spoken to colleagues and friends about, and it's the shopping cart scenario. And just the idea that when you go shopping, you get all your stuff out of the cart, get it in your car, then what? You know, take it back to where it belongs. Sometimes it's harder to do that when it's raining outside. You know, you have kids screaming. All these different scenarios might deter you from that act, and yet people still do it. Some people choose not to. But the interesting thing about the shopping cart scenario is that there is no reward or accolade if you put the cart back. There's also no reprimand. You don't get fined. Nothing bad happens, really. It's just, you know, the idea that you're helping someone out. If it's not an employee of the store or another customer or someone in the parking lot, you know, working so hard to make those car payments, you're thinking, yeah, I really wouldn't want a cart running into my car either. And, you know, you're thinking, if not for yourself, for others, you know, that is a very thoughtful act. It very much kind of comes from a center, a place of a center that is good. In that, again, there's no reward for doing something like that. There is no reward for taking that cart back. And there's also no reprimand if you don't. So that's kind of a fun way to do some goodwill hunting. There's other ways. If you observe people going in and out of buildings that don't have security entrances, of course, where people can come and go freely. It's interesting to see, you know, people that choose to hold doors for other people just so that the door doesn't slam in their face. Or I love to watch when people, I love to people watch, I will admit that, but I love to watch when people see someone, you can tell they see someone trying to come in and they maybe have their hands kind of full. And so the person will make sure that they get the door for that person. Or what's also interesting is when you see a person who has their hands full and they'll still get the door, they'll kind of butt their way out and open the door for somebody. And then that person can come in without having to worry about getting smacked in the face with the door. Also with COVID, something too is you sort of saw sometimes this thoughtfulness of getting the door for somebody so they didn't have to touch it. You know, it was kind of cool to see that too. And I saw people masking and not masking holding doors. You know, that was the cool thing. And this is why I have a lot of hope for humanity. I have a lot of hope for our country because there is a center here. You know, we can agree on a lot of things. I think starting small is helpful. You know, it takes away a lot of big expectations from people. And I saw people who wore masks and people who weren't wearing masks getting doors for each other, putting carts away. I also saw when I went to get a birthday cake from Dairy Queen. This was like right around the beginning of the shutdown and everything with COVID. We were still able to go out and get some things. Probably it was just after the real shutdown, so I was able to go out and get a cake at Dairy Queen. And I put my mask on and I went in to get the cake and I had to wait in a line. So I kind of kept my distance, and it was a mix. Everybody back there working with the food had their masks on, and then everybody waiting in line, it was a mix. Not everybody was wearing a mask. The people wearing masks that were stepping back, and people who weren't wearing masks that were just kind of standing there, were just kind of looking at each other, not sure what to think, what to do. And I just remember I went and got my cake because I stood away to get out of the way, and then I went to get the cake, and as I came back, I had to pass a gentleman who didn't have a mask on, and I sort of like moved away from him, and I said, "Excuse me," just the common respect, like, "Excuse me." And he stepped back and gave me more space and said, "Thank you, dear." It just a very nice interaction, a very simple interaction, just by being polite to each other and respecting each other, regardless of what that, initial sort of stigma was for your decision of whether or not to wear a mask. The fact that you maintain that simple decency for each other, I think, can go a long way. And even things like, I don't know, you see people picking up trash when no one's looking. I always make sure I have a little hand sanitizer to wipe my hands off after I do that. But it's really looking for those instances where there's no positive reward guaranteed. There's also no negative reprimand to fear. And a lot of times it's when, that person doesn't know anyone's looking, and you still see them making a thoughtful decision. A decision to do something that will positively impact or help to avoid a negative result for the next person, for the rest of humanity. And there are a lot of people doing this. And if we take stock in the simple things, I truly think that we will be much richer in life and much richer in America. Let's just focus on that. That's a good start anyway. That's what I want to talk about today. And so I'll leave you with that. It takes a little stamina to really want to sit down and focus on the simple things like this. But people will surprise you, and it's delightful, I will say. Sometimes people you don't expect to be thoughtful stop and they do something real thoughtful. There's a lot of people out there doing that. And for now, for this video, let's start simple. Take stock in the simple things while we're goodwill hunting. Take care till next time.